One quiet afternoon at the permanent police office, a man walked in with fear written all over his face. He asked to file a complaint. After a few questions, the officer sent him to the judicial police. Inside the office, he slowly pulled out a photograph and placed it on the table. Then he handed over another document. "This is my wife," he said softly. "And this is our civil status record." The officer studied the papers carefully. "Tell us the case." The man swallowed hard. "My wife disappeared. She left home to visit her sister. She was supposed to return the next day, but she never did." The room fell silent. "And how did she travel?" the officer asked. "She took a taxi," the man answered. "That was the last time anyone saw her." "Do you remember the taxi number?" the officer asked. "No," the man said. "I don't remember." "Can you describe the driver?" The man shook his head slowly. "I didn't pay attention. I can't remember the man." The officer leaned back in his chair and sighed. "So there's no taxi number, and no description of the driver?" "Yes," the man whispered. "Nothing." The room grew quiet. "You may leave for now. We'll let you know if there's any new information." It had been 40 days since her sister's husband had passed away. In her culture, 40 days mattered. It was a time of grief, prayers, and silence. Her sister was alone now, tired, broken, trying to be strong for her children. So she decided to visit her, to help her heal, even just a little. That afternoon, she baked a simple cake with her own hands. She packed olives and bananas, small things, but made with love. Food was comfort. Food was care. At 5 o'clock in the evening, she told her husband she was ready. "I'll go with you to the taxi station," he said. They walked together. The sun was starting to lower, the streets busy with people going home. At the station, a shared taxi waited, one of those long-distance cabs that travel between towns. Her sister lived 50 kilometers away. Her husband paid for 2 seats, even though she was alone. "So you'll be comfortable," he said. "No one will sit next to you." She smiled, grateful. He helped her put the bag inside, kissed her forehead, and watched as she got in. Inside the taxi were 4 passengers and the driver. As the journey began, 2 men were dropped off along the way. Then another. Soon, only she and the driver remained. She didn't think much of it at first. But then the driver slowed down. He took a turn, one she didn't recognize. "Excuse me," she said softly. "This isn't the main road." The driver didn't answer. Her heart tightened. He took another turn. The road became empty. No houses. No people. "Sir?" Her voice shook now. "You missed the road to my sister's town." That's when she knew. The doors were locked. The driver finally spoke, his voice cold and unfamiliar. "Don't worry," he said at last, his voice flat. "The taxi battery is weak. I need to bring another one from home. Otherwise, the car won't go." She didn't respond. Fear had already begun to crawl through her veins. He turned again. And then again. The road grew emptier with every mile, no shops, no people. Just scattered houses, one far from the next. Until finally, there were none at all. Only a deserted road. And a single cottage standing alone. He pulled over. Without looking at her, he got out, opened the cottage door, and stepped inside. Moments later, he returned and motioned for her to follow. "Come," he said. "My wife is sick. She wants to speak to you." Something felt wrong. Everything felt wrong. But the doors were locked. And his eyes left no room for refusal. Inside the cottage, the door closed behind her. It locked. His voice changed. "Do everything I tell you," he said coldly. "Or you will die." She cried out, but the sound went nowhere. He struck her, hard enough that the room spun and darkness crept into her vision. "Make dinner," he ordered. "You will obey." Later, he left and returned with a friend. They drank, laughed, and watched television as if it were an ordinary night. She moved silently in the kitchen, her hands shaking, her heart breaking. From time to time, he called her over, threatening her, humiliating her. Every refusal was met with violence or the promise of death. Midnight came. His friend finally left. They were alone. That was when the true nightmare began. At midnight, when the house fell silent, he did whatever he wanted. She was humiliated. Broken. Treated as if her life had no value. The door stayed locked. One night turned into another. 4 days passed. She was kept inside that cottage, watched, threatened, and silenced. Time lost its meaning. Hunger, fear, and shame blended into one long nightmare. She stopped counting the hours and began counting only her breaths. On the 4th day, he called his friend again. They smoked together. Drank. Laughed. Then, as suddenly as they had decided to keep her, they decided to get rid of her. They forced her into the vehicle and drove toward the edge of the town where she lived. No words. No apologies. When the car slowed, they pushed her out onto an empty road. The vehicle sped away, disappearing into the early morning. She lay there crying, her clothes torn, her body bruised and shaking. Every movement hurt. Every breath felt heavy. Not long after, people passing by found her. They wrapped her in coats, spoke gently, and called for help. She was taken to the police. Then to the hospital. The next day, when her voice finally returned, she told them everything. And then, by pure luck, or perhaps by strength she didn't know she had, she remembered something crucial. The number written on the taxi door. It had been simple. Repeated. Easy to remember. That number changed everything. Because this time, the road did not erase her. This time, she survived. And this time, justice had a place to begin. The police moved quickly. Using the number she remembered, they went straight to the taxi bureau and asked for the vehicle registered under that number. The records led them to an elderly man. When questioned, the old man explained that the taxi no longer belonged to him in practice. He had given it to his son to manage. The police then questioned the son. At first, he hesitated. Then he admitted the truth. From time to time, he lent the taxi to a friend so the man could earn some money. The officers exchanged a look. "Call your friend," one of them said calmly. "Don't warn him. Just tell him you're busy today, and if he needs the taxi, he should come himself." The call was made. Not long after, the man arrived. The moment she saw him, her body stiffened. Her voice shook, but she was certain. "That's him," she said. The police took him into custody and drove toward his home. Inside the house, they found what they needed, proof he could no longer deny. Her belongings. Cakes. Fruits. Personal items taken from her during those 4 days. Everything she described was there. Confronted with the evidence, the man had no escape. His silence said more than words ever could. The investigation uncovered another important detail. The man had no license and no legal permit to drive a taxi. He was never authorized to carry passengers. The taxi had been given to him unofficially, based only on trust. That trust was abused. When the police questioned the owner's son again, he admitted he had lent the taxi to his friend without checking documents or permissions, allowing him to work illegally and without supervision. This lack of responsibility made the crime possible. He was arrested and later sentenced to 15 years in prison. The owner of the taxi, for negligence and responsibility, was also sentenced to 2 years. For her, the wounds would take longer to heal. But she was alive. She was heard. And because she remembered a simple number written on a taxi door, justice found its way back to her.